So your home's stuck on the market, you're trying to sell it. We're in this crazy flat market where it's hard to sell anything. What are your options? You feel like you're backed in a corner. I actually have at least 6 different tactics that we've been using here in the Twin Falls area, and I'm going to share them with you today. So let's get started. So you have your house on the market, and this applies to anybody, no matter where you're at. It could be here locally, or it could be in another state outside of Idaho. But let's say you have your house on the market and you've got it up for sale. Maybe you're getting people visiting it. Maybe you're not. You've had open houses, whatever. I've come across this here locally, and I've started to experiment with different methods of how to get that house moving. And so that's what I'm going to share with you today. The most common strategy to help get a house to sell, and I put a poll on a realtor, a Facebook group that I'm in, and I asked this question. I said, for those of you that are having issues moving your listings or getting them sold, out of the 3 choices of a price adjustment or seller concession in closing costs or rate buy down, what are you seeing the most success with? And I'll explain each of those, but basically the top answer was reducing the price. If you bring the price down that you're asking for, it's going to trigger usually emails to go out from the MLS system, the multi-listing service. That's where all the information is harnessed, that all of us realtors have to pay to be a part of. That's where the real data sits about houses that are selling and have sold. Zillow, realtor.com, Trulia, all that stuff, they pull information from everywhere, and it's not always accurate, as you've noticed. MLS is the actual accurate data that we as agent input our listings into. We input our data for our sales, whatever. So whenever you do a price adjustment, that triggers a lot of things. It triggers the MLS system to send out emails to anyone and everyone that's looked at the property previously, agents mostly, but you also send out emails yourself. There's a lot of things you can do. You can re-advertise in your local social media that you've got a price adjustment. You can have another open house to advertise it. But adjusting your price down is the number one most common thing to get your house moving in a stale market. The one thing you want to be careful with is that you want to try to get ahead of the market and not chase the market. And by that I mean, if you've had your house listed for 30 days and you've only had a few people look at it and nobody's made an offer, the general rule of thumb that I've come to accept, this was shared with me by a broker, and I found it to be true. If you don't get an offer in the first 10 days on the market, then you're probably overpriced. Now that's extending a little bit now, getting a bit longer now because of the stale market that we're in. Last year, for sure, you were getting offers, the first day. Now in 2022, it's about 10 days, 10 business days. If you don't see an offer on your price, you should consider lowering your price. And you figure that amount out with the help of your realtor, and you try to price ahead of the market and not just chase it. But price adjustment is very important to getting a house sold. Second of those in that poll that I had was a seller concession. A seller concession, if you don't know, just means the seller is offering to concede something or give something to the buyer. A seller concession can be a $3,000 carpet allowance because your house needs carpet, and people that are looking at it are going to see that right off the bat. So, hey, my house is listed for $350,000, and we're offering a $3,000 seller concession to put in the carpet of your choice. That's basically what a seller concession is. Now, in this market, the common seller concessions are assisting with closing costs for the buyer. Now, obviously, last year, buyers were paying their own closing costs because there were so many buyers out there buying the houses that sellers could just sit back and pick and choose which buyer they wanted and not accept any concessions at all, or have to give any concessions at all. Now the table has turned, and there's more sellers than there are buyers. So now that there's more sellers than there are buyers, the sellers are having to concede a little more. And so the number one thing is closing costs. So if you have your house listed for, say, $350,000 and it's not moving, you should consider lowering the price to an appropriate level and/or adding a seller concession to assist the buyer in their closing costs. Typically, that's 3 to 5% of the total. I've seen 4% pretty consistently here lately. In fact, I just inked a deal yesterday on a $320,000 house, and they paid a 4% concession to the buyer to assist with closing costs. The other real common thing, and it was in my poll because it is so popular right now, is a seller concession to help the buyer buy down their interest rate. We all know that interest rates are up. We went above 7% for a little while, and now we're actually back down to about 6.5%. Still pretty sure it's going to continue to creep up through Christmas. We don't know what's going to happen next year, of course. But sellers are offering a buy down of the rate, which means, say that same house is for sale for $350,000. They're also offering up to $5,000 in seller concession to help the buyer buy down their interest rate. And what that simply means is at closing, when you go to sign all the papers, that concession is going to come out of the seller's pocket and go to the buyer as a means to help the lender purchase points or buy down the rate. So say we're at 7% today and we closed on a deal that the seller was offering seller concessions to buy down the rate. With that $5,000 or whatever you choose it to be, the lender of that buyer could perhaps buy that buyer's rate down to 6% instead of 7%, or maybe even a little bit lower than 6%. Every lender is different. Every client is different. Their credit score, credit history, everything's different. So it's a case by case basis. But what I'm sharing with you is another way to increase the likelihood of selling your home is to offer a seller concession to help the buyer buy down their interest rate. And the lenders will know all about this, and your agents will know all about this. So don't let the fear of the unknown steer you away from it. Ask what that is from your realtor. Another option that I found that I've been using lately that's been super helpful for houses that aren't selling, if the client or the homeowner who's selling the home has enough equity in the home, we actually have investors that are working with us that will buy the home from our seller and cash them out and then put it back on the market themselves. And whatever it sells for, that also goes back to the original owner. And the investors just take 3% off the top of the whole thing. So let me say that again. So let's say you own a house that's worth $300,000 and it's on the market, or let's stick with the $350,000 house that we've been saying all along. You have a house for $350,000. It's been on the market for 2, 3, 4 months. It's not getting offers, or the offers are too low, but you only owe, say, $125,000 on the home. You got plenty of equity built up. These investors will come in and discuss the option with you, tell you all the ins and outs of the package. And then if it's agreed upon to move forward, the investors then send their own appraiser out to appraise the property, make sure it is worth $350,000. And they'll also send out their own inspector to inspect the home to make sure there's good foundation, good roof, all that stuff, no hidden defects. And if the appraisal and the inspection come back good, the investors will offer 70% of the home's value to the owner and cash them out at the 70%, but it doesn't stop there. So the owner gets cashed out at 70%, and they take that cash, they pay off whatever the remaining balance is on the mortgage, and the rest goes in their pocket, and that's being used to buy the next house. Because now that the investors have bought the home from them and it's off the books of that owner, they're now freed up to go get a second loan for a primary residence and move into their next home. So the investors buy this thing for 70%. And you think, well, I don't want to sell it for 70%. I want to get maximum value out of it. Well, these investors do also. They turn around and put it back on the market, try to sell it for as much as they can, because remember, they get 3% of the total. So it's in their best interest to get the most out of it, just like you would have. So they pay you 70%, you're done, you move on, you buy your next house, they put it back on the market, and then whatever it sells for, that also goes back to that original owner. It's in the contract, and the investors just take the 3% off the top of the whole thing. And now the interesting part is the original listing agent is still in the calculation. So the actual deal that I did, I had a lady who had a house in Twin Falls, and she wanted to move to Castleford, and we had the house on the market. It was actually another agent who had it listed. I was her buyer's rep buying the house in Castleford. The agent had it on the market for a couple of months. It wasn't moving. So I proposed the idea of this investor strategy. They all met, they discussed it, they agreed to move forward. They did the appraisal, they did the inspection, they were happy with the home. They gave her 70% of the value, cashed her out, She put that money down and bought a whole new home in Castleford because they're a lot cheaper out there. She was able to take her cash and buy a whole nother home. And then the investors turned around and put that home back on the market, and whatever it sells at goes back to this original owner. This is recent, so it hasn't sold yet. But whatever it sells for, that additional amount goes back to my original owner. And the listing agent that had it listed originally is still in the deal. He still gets his 3%. So the listing agent gets the 3%. The investors get 3% for kind of doing the deal. And it freed my client up to be able to move ahead and complete the purchase that I had them on. So that's kind of a third option after these seller concessions, okay? And then the fourth option is you can always rent your property. So if you have a house on the market, you've listed it for 3, 4, 5 months, whatever, and it's not going anywhere, and you're starting to get antsy because you need to move on for whatever reason, your job is moving you, or you're downsizing, or you're upgrading, or whatever, you can work with a property management company, unless you want to try and do it yourself, which you can. But a property management company, typically for a flat fee or up to 10% of the total, will step in, advertise the rental, get you applicants, interview them, manage them, take care of the property. And once you can show, in this most recent case that I had, we had to show a 12-month rent agreement with a new renter to our lender that satisfied the lender that the homeowner no longer had to worry about making the monthly payments on that mortgage, which freed them up to make a secondary purchase. So you have the opportunity to rent your home. That's option number 4. Then option number 5 is a loan called a bridge loan. And a bridge, kind of like what it sounds like, it's a bridge to get you to the next purchase. So same kind of scenario where you have a $350,000 house and you only owe $100,000 on it. You've got equity built up in that home. A lender can basically loan you that equity to purchase your next home, and then you're just making payments on that bridge loan. But bridge loans are typically only for about a year or two. It's when you're expecting maybe that house is for sale and it's not selling. So you take that equity out in a bridge loan to buy your other home. And then once that house sells, you pay off that bridge loan. Or there could be other scenarios where you're waiting on an inheritance, you're waiting on a lawsuit to pay out, whatever it is, money's coming. So you take out this short-term bridge loan on the equity of your home. So that's number 5. So the last one, number 6, is very similar. It's a HELOC, which is a line of credit from a bank. And it's really kind of the same thing. It's using the equity of your home as the collateral, so to speak, against that loan. But that can be for a longer period of time. Now, I'm not going to get into interest rates and repayment terms and all that, because that's a lender's job. I don't wear any hats I don't have to. I'm just wearing the realtor hat, helping you sell the house, helping you buy a house. When it comes to lending questions, go talk to your lender. And of course, I have excellent lenders here locally that I can set you up with. But I just wanted to give some of you an idea of all these options that are out there, because we obviously saw last year where everything sold no matter what it was priced at, and often sold for more than it was priced at. This year, it's turned around. Things are sitting on the market. Last time I checked, we had an average day on market of 72 days here locally in the Twin Falls area. So sellers have to kind of accept that, even if you're priced appropriately, you may sit on the market for a couple of months. And I've got them all over the place. I've got some that have set for 4 months that we've been trying to price aggressively, and other ones that have set a couple months, like the one we just inked yesterday. So properties are still moving if you're being proactive and helping them to sell. If you're one of those sellers that has the mindset of last year it was worth X amount and I'm not taking any less than that, that ship has sailed. If you have that type of mentality, your house is not going to sell. And as time goes by over this next year, you may see the value of your home going down, which it has all this year. It has gone down. And as interest rates continue to creep up, your potential buyers have less and less ability to, or what's the term, the amount that they can borrow shrinks as the interest rate goes up. So I'll upload this to the YouTube channel. Just wanted to give you folks that are thinking about selling some options. And if you're not in the Twin Falls area, I've got people in California and Oregon and other states that are looking to move here, and I'm helping them find a house here, and they've got houses there to sell These are tactics your agent can use. And I'll also mention that if you don't have an agent to use, no matter where you're at, as a Keller Williams agent, which is a global company, not just in America, it's global. I have access to the entire global database of all the Keller Williams agents in the world. So if you don't have an agent set up that you're comfortable with, what I've been doing and seeing great success with is I go into my network and I find the top 3 agents in your area, and I can filter their sales history by their results, the number of units sold, the number of units pending, the volume in dollars, that kind of thing. And I've been picking the top 3 agents in the area of my clients, and then I will call those 3 agents and interview them myself. And I will ask them questions about the local economy, and I'll see how fast they answer their phone when I call, these different criteria. And I'll vet those 3 out to find the top agent in your area. And then I'll let you know who that is. And if you want to use that person, you're more than welcome to. I'll kind of do the upfront work for you, and I can get that ball rolling. So if you need help finding an agent where you're at, let me know. I can do that for you as well. So I'll end it there. I hope this is helpful. If you need anything, just go to ronjones.me. That's my website. I can do a lot of things from there as far as helping you get on the market where you're at, help you find a house here, real estate investments, rentals, purchases, whether they be stick-built houses, condos, townhomes, manufactured homes. If you want 10 acres, if you want to live in the city, I've got access to all of it. Just let me know. Happy to help, and talk to you soon.